G'day, punters. Welcome back, and thanks to Peter Lawrence for joining us again for a full review of the Caulfield Cup Day meeting. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning there, Paul. How's it going in sunny Brisbane? Looks beautiful behind you there.
Bit overcast here, mate. No, that's the I've got the Randwick Racecourse there, mate. You know the story. Got to promote the big crowd. I mean, geez, 46,000 people. You must say, and that's a good effort, isn't it?
Yeah, it was terrific. It has to be said. It was a great. It's a great promotion, and hats off to them.
Indeed. The track on Saturday, Pete, will sort of a bit better than we expected, I suppose, going into the meeting. It sort of comes back to about nearly a 7 for me. They did go 8, 7, 6, so they've sort of upgraded it probably a little bit better than what I've got. The shoot race, the 1,000, the 1,100. I've got those going a bit faster though, probably around about a 5. What were your thoughts in terms of how you handled the day and what you did with the horses? Did you have to make many adjustments on the run?
Not a lot. I thought it'd be around about where it was. I don't think it was a 6. I think that's being a bit optimistic and a bit super positive. I think it was a 7 would be fair. It was a slow, and I thought it was probably a slow edging towards a heavy rather than a slow going the other way. And just played the way probably Caulfield played last year on the same day. Very similar setup. Started as an 8. They upgraded to a 6 and probably was around the 7 mark, I would have thought.
Yeah, and in terms of pattern, Pete, I mean, the shoot races, those couple of sprints appeared very on pace, didn't they? Whereas the rest of the meeting, you could pretty much come from anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know about coming from being on the rail. I thought that was a disadvantage most of the day. But certainly being 3 off and up on the pace, I thought was no disadvantage.
Okay, so let's get into it. Race 1 over 1,400 metres, the 3-year-old Open for fillies. Average tempo early, then sort of slowed down a little bit by the time they got to the 600 there to below average tempo. What were your thoughts on this race, Pete? The favourite got the job done in a pretty ordinary field.
Dreadful field. The only danger to the favourite in the market ran poorly, the second favourite, and you just would have thought that Quang Tri in that circumstance would be too good. She did start 2s on. Wasn't the most dynamic win of all time. Lady Jones has run second, who was beaten 5.5 lengths in a maiden at Mornington, I think, at its only start. So a sound enough return from Quang Tri, but I'd be hesitant looking to any of these horses over the carnival apart from the winner.
The 1,700 metre race there, the benchmark 80 average tempo, Pete. Bit of I suppose 5 horses finished within 2 lengths. St. Baffin's got the job done. What were your thoughts going into the race and post-race? Have you got a different opinion?
Look, originally going into the race, I didn't have much between St. Baffin's and Cap de Joie. But on race morning with all the scratchings, I really did think it would favour Cap de Joie. I thought it might have the better turn of foot and the pace had come out of the race. He was very disappointing. I know it wasn't much of a ride, but he just definitely didn't show that same turn of foot down the straight. I thought that St. Baffin's went just about as well as he had at his previous start. I didn't think he went ahead much. And I thought the fact that there was those 3 horses all within a length of the second horse, Naboo Star, Right You Are, and Duke of Dubai, made it just an average benchmark 80. And I think that the favourite was a bit disappointing there, and I'm not quite sure. Maybe a faster pace and getting a tag into the race would be the go for him. But I would have expected him to do a bit more late, for sure.
Okay, let's get on to the Caulfield Classic for the 3-year-olds. Average tempo here. Mr. Maestro got the job done, thankfully, but wasn't that impressive.
No, it was a strange thing because Matt Hill was saying how slow they were going, but they actually went much faster than the fillies in the early stages. Look, to me, Mr. Maestro was sent out to make sure he didn't race wide and overextend himself with the Derby a couple of weeks away. I thought his run was better than it looked. Didn't have anything to drag him into the race, started to make his run 3 wide, got pushed 4 wide, got pushed 5 wide. I wasn't disappointed with his run. I thought it was pretty good. I thought the second horse went really well, Muramasa, and they'd be the only 2 horses going forward into the Derby, but I'd still want to be on the winner. I thought it was a good enough run, and I'd still have him clearly on top of any of the other horses in the Derby.
Okay. Imperial Stakes, race 4, average tempo here. And of course, this is the fillies race, as you said, that they did go a lot slower earlier.
Yeah.
What were you thinking here?
Again, I thought this was a pretty good Oaks trial by Renaissance Woman. She's got all the, she looks like a stayer. She ran into the race strongly. She came with Foxy Cleopatra, was far the strongest late. I still think she's got improvement to come. And I don't know whether they'll give her a run in the Wakeful Stakes, but she'd be my top pick for the Oaks at the moment. I thought the second horse went well, Foxy Cleopatra. I wouldn't want to be on any of the other horses that finished behind them then. I thought they were the 2. And in particular, the winner I thought was a good run going forward and a very good Oaks trial. I think she's the filly that's definitely going to stay the distance strongly.
Yep. Okay. And the Gothic Stakes, Pete, over 1,400 metres. We saw a solid tempo early. They slowed down a little bit by the time they got to the 600, but it was still above average. And we've got a couple of horses here that have improved their ratings fairly sharply, I think. What do you say?
I'd agree with that. It just shows how critical that track bias is at Moonee Valley when it's leaderish, because Sandpaper's come out of that same race as Lincoln Square and Eponymous. And he, of course, had to race wide that day from the wide alley and has turned the tables dramatically on both of those horses. I thought it was a reasonably good win. I thought the time was okay. Angry Skies I've got going ahead considerably from his first 2 runs as well. Custodian's gone well from the front, probably wasn't in the best going. I thought all those horses went well enough to be considered going forward over the Flemington Carnival.
Okay. The Alinghi Stakes, over 1,100 metres, average tempo early. They did quicken up, though, by the time they got to the 600. And once again, we saw a couple of horses here really go ahead, like Shellstar and so forth. What do you say?
I thought it was a difficult race to assess, and it's a bit of a conundrum. I don't like it when there's a number of horses that look to have gone a lot better than they had previously, and that's the case with Lempika, Labamo, and Shellstar. To me, all of them have overperformed. So, look, I've got a question mark on the race. I think Maliba went well down. She clearly is only really at her best fresh. So I thought it was a good win by a very fine red. I noticed a number of people referenced the run at Flemington over the Carnival last year, which was one of the worst rides you'd ever see, where it should have definitely won. I thought she's come back well, and I thought Shellstar's definitely improved enormously on its first up run at Randwick, and that would be the horse I'd be looking at going forward. He wasn't particularly well in at the set weights and penalties, and he might be able to. He'd be a horse I'd be interested in following going forward from that race for sure.
Okay. So Shellstar, the mare, out of the 6th. In race 7, we've got a serious horse here, Osphora, average tempo here, but it just absolutely smashed them.
Yes, there was no getting 3 pairs back on the rail here, which is what happened to it last start at Moonee Valley, she was able to lead what was some pretty fast horses on her ear here, stayed well off the fence, raced away, ran a great time, and is definitely the horse to follow out of the meeting for me. She'd be, to me, competitive in any Group 1 sprint going forward, and is, I think, from my point of view, proven over the 1,200 metres. So I definitely want to be on her next start wherever she goes.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that one. It was a terrific performance. What do we do with Dragonstone? Do we just sort of forgive it, given where it was placed in the field and back on the
Well, it
inside?
had the horrid stuck back on the fence from barrier 1. To me, I think Dragonstone goes a lot better when the track's dry. I know early on he'd run some good races in the wet, but his last few runs in the wet have been he's underperformed. So I wouldn't be completely knocking him going forward if the track became dry. I thought Ashford Street was just fair on Saturday and was fair first up. So the jury's out a little bit with him. I thought Generation went about as well as he can go. And I thought Kalos got back to his best form, which for me previously was at Flemington around this time last year. So, but the filly's gone enormous.
Yes, indeed. Okay, let's get on to the Tristark Stakes. And of course, I was a little bit surprised here, Pete, with Chain of Lightning winning the way it did at the end of 1,400 metres, but certainly surprised me. What do you think about the race?
I thought it was a strange race. I thought the time wasn't as good as you might have expected it to be. I thought that Plaspen was another horse that was trapped on the rail there, so may have gone backwards slightly from its last run. Pride of Jenny again missed the start and had to be rushed around the field and just spent too much energy getting there. And then you've got sort of, the horses like Paul's Regret and Cliff's Art that have finished next. So I don't think it was an overly strong race. I've got Chain of Lightning going forward just slightly on to a new peak, and probably everyone was a little bit too influenced by that run the other day when it was torrentially raining during the day. She probably went backwards a bit there, but it's been a very consistent mare since, only been beaten once in her life, and she continues to improve. And I thought she had a little bit up her sleeve when she hit the line as well. So I think I wouldn't be discounting her winning another race as well over the carnival.
Okay, on to the Caulfield Cup. Solid tempo here, Pete. The one that we were on, or most favoured to win, Smoke and Romans. I thought that Jamie Carr actually got into a bit of a sticky position there before they turned, and perhaps it got shuffled back a little bit, and then just lost that momentum and couldn't pick up. Durston got the job done in a tight finish, 6 horses within about a length and 3/4 there. What do you got to say post race?
Look, she did, Jamie Carr said the same herself. She erred in letting that horse go around her. Should have sat outside the lead at Knight's Order. In having said that, he was very disappointing in the straight nonetheless. He was there to run a much better race than that, and in fact hasn't been able to get past Knight's Order. Durston was a savage disappointment for me last start. I thought it was just a moral in the Metrop. In fact, I think I said to you on Friday a few times, because I was on Smoke and Romans, I hope Durston doesn't get a run, because I'm very worried about him. But I did have quite a good result on the race. I did back it anyway. I thought he went great. I certainly would be thinking he's definitely got some chance in the Melbourne Cup. I think he's been placed or a winner at 2,900 metres in England. I thought that he's capable of going a little bit better still. I think his Newcastle Cup win might have been slightly better than that race than the Caulfield Cup win. So I think he's got the potential to go ahead. I thought Gold Trip was great. He clearly needs the wet track to show his best. Like, to me, he's gone 3 or 4 lengths better than he went in the Turnbull on the dry. I'm surprised that they keep riding Knight's Order so slow in front. They did it in the Turnbull, and he did it again on Saturday. That I don't understand why. He's a better horse when he's really bowling along. So I'd say he's definitely not out of the Melbourne Cup, leading all the way. They'll leave him alone. If you back Montefilia, you'd be just banging your head up and down on the table. That really was a strange decision at the top. I didn't back it, but a very strange decision at the top of the straight to go back inside looking for runs. And I suspect she probably should have won the race. So I thought her run was good. I don't think I necessarily want to be on her at 3,200 metres in the Cup, but she's definitely going well, and it's a mystery what happened to her last start when she ran so poorly, as when she was short priced against Cascadian. And then the others like Numerian, Vow and Declare, I think they've gone about as well as they can. Vow and Declare maybe he's got a length up his sleeve in the Cup. I don't know what to make about Dewis. It just 4 runs now, hasn't run a place. I know she wasn't beaten far, but
Yeah.
I can't. She's clearly 3-4 lengths below what she's capable of, and I wouldn't be on her again.
Yeah, look, interesting. The winner was only one of 3 horses that had sort of had their previous start over the 2,400 or a similar distance. So you got Durston, I think it was, what was it, Vow and Declare, and the other one, No Compromise. So, that's an old theory that has often stood the test of time in these mile and a half races. And but Durston, it was certainly resultant. Well done to all the connections there. And Michael D, opportunity for him, and really only just got in on a race morning, didn't he? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was good to see it happen. Last race, of course, the 1,400-metre race, above average tempo early. They did speed up again by the time they got to the 600 there, and we saw the trusty Bandersnatch run another competitive race. Didn't think much about the race myself post-race, but what are your thoughts, Pete?
It was an interesting race. They put the nose roll on Lady of Honour and then rode her off the pace, which seemed to be a strange decision to me. But we all know people, hate horses leading, but it just seemed to be such a great race for her to bowl along in front. I think it was a poor decision. I think she would have gone better if she'd have been leading. I think Bandersnatch was probably slightly unlucky, got caught a little bit wide, got beaten an absolute bob of the head. And I thought that Aegon went back to somewhere near his best form, which for me was in the Group 1 race at Caulfield last year. So for me, what you see is what you get, just an average open handicap. I know it was a Group 3, but I would have marked it right on just to be an average open handicap. There's nothing there that I really would have, that I'd be going where you just really want to be on that horse going forward.
It's probably fair to say that Bandersnatch is racing in the best form of its career, or equal to its best anyway,
for sure,
and holding it. So
yeah.
Out of the meeting, Pete, the obvious one for both of us, of course, is As Fora. Other horses to follow from you?
I'd definitely be following Mr. Maestro into the Derby, and I'd be following Renaissance Woman into the Oaks. There'd be my 2 picks there. And I thought that Shall Star was the other horse that I'd be pegging going forward.
And any in terms of the Melbourne Cup, did you want to offer an opinion there at this stage? Any early action?
No, look, it's a little bit early. You've still got to try and work out where all the internationals fit. Not quite as easy as last year when it was just all the Aussie horses poking around. I would have thought out of the Caulfield Cup that the first 3 place getters would all equip themselves well over the 3,200 metres, Durston, Gold Trip, and Knight's Order.
Excellent. Thanks very much for your time again, Pete, and I hope, punters, you get some gold out of that going forward, and we'll catch you again next week.
Good on you. Thanks, Paul.
Cheers.